Listen up, Cowboys Nation, because what I'm about to show you might actually be the wake-up call this franchise needs. And if you're not subscribed yet, you need to fix that right now, because we're bringing you every single Cowboys update the second it drops. And trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming this season. The NFL just handed Dallas one of the most loaded schedules I've seen in years, and while everyone else is panicking about it, I'm seeing something completely different. I'm seeing opportunity disguised as chaos, and I'm seeing a team that's either going to rise up and shock the doubters or crumble under the weight of expectations, and honestly, there's no in-between anymore. This is the year we find out who this team really is under Brian Schottenheimer's leadership, and the crazy part is even the analysts who love to trash Dallas are quietly admitting this roster could win 11 or 12 games if things break right. So buckle up, because we're about to break down this entire schedule, the brutal stretches, the statement games, and exactly what it all means for our playoff hopes. Let me start with the good news before we dive into the gauntlet, because yes, there is actually some good news here. Week 1, the Cowboys are heading to MetLife to face the Giants on Sunday Night Football. And if you've been paying attention at all, you know Dak Prescott owns the Giants like he bought the deed to their stadium. Seriously, Dak has barely lost to New York in his entire career, and there's zero reason to think that changes now, especially when you look at where these two franchises are right now. The Giants are still trying to figure out their identity, still piecing together a roster that can compete, and meanwhile, Dallas is returning basically the same offensive firepower that put up points in bunches last year. CeeDee Lamb is still a matchup nightmare, we've still got weapons in the backfield, and the offensive line had a solid offseason to get healthy and gel. The Cowboys should walk into MetLife and take care of business in front of a national audience, and that's exactly the kind of start this team needs. You get that Week 1 confidence boost, you remind everyone watching that Dallas can still dominate on the big stage, and you set the tone for what's supposed to be a bounce-back season. Then we roll right into Week 2 against the Commanders. And here's where things get interesting, because Washington is no longer the punching bag they used to be. Jaden Daniels had an electric rookie season before getting banged up down the stretch, and now he's coming back with a full offseason to grow, a coaching staff that believes in him, and a fan base that thinks they finally found their franchise quarterback. But here's the thing, and this is what nobody is talking about enough. The Commanders still have major question marks on defense, and their offensive line is far from elite. Dallas has the edge in talent across the board, and if the defense shows up with even a little bit of bite early in the season, the Cowboys should be able to handle Washington at home and start the year 2. And, oh. Now, I know what you're thinking. We've seen Dallas start hot before and then completely fall apart, and you're absolutely right to be skeptical. A fast start means nothing if you can't sustain it, but if this team can build early momentum and stack wins in the division, it changes the entire trajectory of the season. Winning your division games matters more than anything else, because that's how you control your own destiny when December rolls around. But here's where the schedule stops being friendly and starts throwing haymakers. And this is the stretch that's going to define everything. Week 3, the Cowboys are flying to Rio de Janeiro. Yeah, you heard that right, Rio de Janeiro, to play the Baltimore Ravens in what might be the wildest regular season setup the league has ever done. International games are tough enough when you're going to London, but now you're talking about South America, different time zone, long travel, and oh, by the way, you're facing Lamar Jackson and one of the most physical teams in the entire NFL. The Ravens are a nightmare matchup on paper because their offense is built to control the clock, their defense is built to suffocate you, and Lamar is the kind of dual threat that can punish you in ways you didn't even game plan for. Dallas is going to have to prove their revamped defense can hang with a legit championship contender, and let's be real, this is probably going to be a loss. I'm not saying Dallas can't win. I'm saying the odds are stacked against them with the travel, the opponent, and the fact that this defense is still learning a new system. If the Cowboys can keep it close and show real fight, that's a moral victory, but this one feels like the first real gut check of the season, and it might not go our way. And just when you think it can't get tougher, Week 4, we're going to Houston to face the Texans, and if you know anything about Cowboys history in Houston, you know this is a problem. Dallas has struggled mightily playing in that building, and the Texans are no longer a rebuilding team. They're a legitimate threat with one of the best young defenses in football. Their pass rush is ferocious, their secondary can lock you down, and if Dak doesn't have time to operate, this offense is going to sputter. Plus, you're coming off that long trip to Brazil, your body is still recovering, your preparation time is limited, and now you're facing another playoff-caliber team on the road. This is the kind of game that can break your season in half if you're not careful. I'm not saying Dallas can't pull it off, but if they drop this one and fall to 2-2 after starting 2, and, oh, the national media is going to have a field day talking about the same old Cowboys narrative. That's why these next few weeks are so critical, because going 2-2 through this brutal stretch is survivable. But if the wheels come off and the defense looks lost, and the offense can't find rhythm, we're looking at a long season full of questions we thought we already answered. Week 5 brings a little bit of relief because we're heading to Tampa Bay to face the Buccaneers, and this is a game Dallas absolutely should win. The last time these two teams met in a game that mattered, the Cowboys rolled into Tampa and got their first playoff win in forever. And yeah, I know that feels like ancient history, but it proves Dallas can go into that building and handle business. Todd Bowles runs a defense that can give you problems if you're not prepared, but Dak has seen those looks 1,000 times, and he's had success picking apart Bowles' schemes. Tampa's secondary has some holes, their roster took some hits in the offseason, and this is the kind of game where CeeDee Lamb should absolutely eat. If Dallas can come out of that brutal stretch with a win in Tampa and get back to 500 or better, that's huge for the locker room. You stop the bleeding, you get some confidence back, you prove you can respond to adversity, and you head into the next stretch with momentum instead of doubt. Then we get to week 6, and oh man, this is the one I've been waiting for, Sunday Night Football at Lambeau Field against the Green Bay Packers. You know the history, you know the heartbreak, you know how many times Green Bay has crushed our souls in the playoffs, and now we finally get a chance to go into their house on prime time and make a statement. The Packers lost their defensive coordinator, Jeff Hafley, who's now with the Dolphins, so there's going to be some transition on that side of the ball, and if Dallas can exploit that with a hot start and put pressure on Jordan Love, this game is absolutely winnable. But here's the thing, and this is what scares me. The Cowboys defense is still figuring things out under their new coordinator, and Lambeau is not the place you want to be when you're trying to learn on the fly. The crowd is deafening, the atmosphere is hostile, and if Green Bay gets rolling early, it could turn into a long night. I want to believe Dallas can finally break through and get a signature road win against a rival, I really do, but we've been hurt too many times before. This is the game where the defense has to prove it's not just improved on paper, but actually improved in reality. If Micah Parsons can wreck the game, if Trevon Diggs can make a big play, if the front seven can stuff the run and make Love uncomfortable, then, yeah, we've got a real shot. But if we come out flat and let Green Bay dictate the pace, we're looking at another painful loss that stings for weeks. Week 7 is Monday Night Football at Philadelphia. And I don't even need to explain why this one matters because you already know. The Eagles have owned this division the last couple years. They've embarrassed us at home, they've run the ball down our throats, and they've made it very clear they think they're the big brother in the NFC East. This is the game where Dallas has a chance to punch back and remind everyone that the division still runs through the star. But here's the problem. This is early in the season, the defense is still learning. And going into Philly on a short week after playing in Green Bay is brutal. The schedule makers did us no favors here, and the Eagles are going to be ready to protect their home turf. I think this one comes down to whether the Dallas defense can stop the run, because if Philly gets that ground game going and controls the clock, we're not going to have enough possessions to keep up. Dak is going to have to be perfect, the offensive line is going to have to win up front, and we need someone on defense to make a game-changing play. I'm not ready to call this a loss yet, but I'm also not ready to say we're winning in Philly until I see this defense prove it can travel and be physical in hostile environments. If Dallas can steal this one, the entire conversation around the NFC East changes overnight, but if we lose and fall further behind in the division race, the margin for error gets razor thin. Week 8, we get the Arizona Cardinals, and on paper this looks like a get-right game, a chance to catch your breath after that brutal stretch and stack another win before the schedule gets tough again. Arizona is in a weird spot as a franchise. They've got some talent, but they're not scaring anyone, and this is exactly the kind of game Dallas needs to take care of business at home. And here's the scary part, this is also the kind of game the Cowboys have a history of overlooking. We've seen it 100 times. Dallas comes off a big emotional game. They're supposed to dominate a weaker opponent, and they come out flat and make it way harder than it should be. That cannot happen this year. If this team is serious about making a playoff run, if they're serious about competing for the division, then you have to beat the teams you're supposed to beat. No drama, no nail-biters, just line up and impose your will. The offense should be rolling by this point in the season, Dak should be in complete rhythm with his receivers, and the defense should be starting to find its identity. This is a game where you build confidence, you get young guys reps, and you make a statement that Dallas is not here to mess around. And then we get to the conversation everyone wants to avoid, but we have to talk about, and that's Thanksgiving. The Cowboys are hosting the Eagles on Thanksgiving for the first time since 2014, and if you remember that season, you know it ended with Dallas finally looking like a real contender again. Now we're almost a decade later, and we're still chasing that same feeling, still trying to prove we belong in the conversation with the true championship teams. Thanksgiving is always a massive stage for the Cowboys. The whole country is watching, families are gathered around the TV, and if you win, you become the story of the day. If you lose, especially to your biggest rival, you become the punchline. This is the kind of game that can define a season because it's not just about the win or the loss, it's about the statement you make in front of the entire football world. Can Dallas finally stand toe-to-toe with Philadelphia and prove this division is not a one-team race? Can the defense show up in a huge spot and slow down that Eagles rushing attack that's been killing us for years? Can Dak Prescott put the team on his back and deliver in the biggest moment? These are the questions that will be answered on Thanksgiving, and honestly, I'm not sure I'm ready for the answers yet. Let's talk about what all of this means for the big picture, because it's easy to go game by game and get lost in the details, but you have to step back and look at the season as a whole. The Cowboys are staring down one of the toughest schedules in the league, packed with primetime games, division battles, and road trips that would test any roster. The NFL didn't do Dallas any favors here, and some people are going to use that as an excuse if things go sideways. But here's the reality. Great teams don't hide from tough schedules, they embrace them. Great teams don't make excuses about travel or rest or who they're playing. They just line up and prove they're better. This is the opportunity Dallas has been waiting for, a chance to show the doubters that this franchise is not just about hype and history, it's about winning when it matters. If the Cowboys can navigate this schedule and finish with 11 or 12 wins, if they can win the division or at least push Philly to the final week, then everything changes. Suddenly, it's not about the drought anymore. It's not about the past. It's about what this team is building right now in the present. The defense is the biggest wild card in all of this, and I cannot stress that enough. Dallas brought in new pieces in the draft and free agency. They've got a new defensive coordinator installing a new system, and they're asking guys to learn on the fly while playing one of the hardest schedules in football. That's not an easy ask. But if it works, if this defense can become even an average unit instead of the liability it's been, this team has a real chance to do something special. Think about it. The offense is already proven. We know Dak can sling it. We know CeeDee is a #1 receiver. We know this group can score points. The question has always been, can the defense get a stop when you need it? Can they create turnovers? Can they win in the fourth quarter when the game is on the line? If the answer is yes, even half the time, Dallas is a problem for everyone on the schedule. If the answer is no, If the defense is still getting gashed and giving up big plays and disappearing in crunch time, then it doesn't matter how good the offense is because you can't outscore everyone every single week. And let's talk about the pressure on Dak Prescott for a second, because it's real and it's not going away. Dak just signed a massive contract extension. He's getting paid like an elite quarterback, and the expectations are sky high. Every game is going to be analyzed, every throw is going to be debated, and every loss is going to be blamed on him, whether it's fair or not. That's the reality of being the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. You live under a microscope and the criticism is relentless. But here's what I believe. Dak thrives under pressure when he's surrounded by the right pieces and when the coaching staff puts him in position to succeed. If the offensive line can protect him, if the running game can stay balanced, if the defense can give him short fields and extra possessions, Dak is going to have a huge season. He's one of the most accurate passers in the league, he takes care of the football, and he's a leader that guys rally around. The question is, can everyone else do their job so Dak has a chance to do his? Because if this team fails, it's not going to be because of number 4. It's going to be because the pieces around him didn't hold up their end of the deal. CeeDee Lamb is another guy who's about to be under the spotlight all season, and rightfully so, because he just got paid like a top-tier receiver, and now he has to prove he's worth every penny. The good news is CeeDee has already shown he can dominate. He's already shown he can be the focal point of an offense, and he's already shown he can make plays that change games. What he needs to do now is stay healthy, stay consistent, and be that guy every single week no matter who's covering him or what kind of scheme he's facing. If CeeDee can put up another Pro Bowl caliber season and be the safety blanket Dak needs in big moments, this offense is going to be incredibly hard to stop. But if he disappears in key games, or if the chemistry with Dak isn't clicking, that's when the doubts start creeping in and the offense starts to struggle. I'm betting on CeeDee to have a monster year because he's too talented and too hungry to let this opportunity slip away, but the margin for error is small when you're playing this kind of schedule. Micah Parsons is the heartbeat of this defense and everyone knows it, and the crazy part is he might be even more important this year than he's ever been. With a new defensive scheme and new faces all over the roster, Micah is the one constant, the one guy who can take over a game and make an offense completely change their game plan. If Micah can stay healthy and stay dominant, if he can wreck games the way we know he can, then this defense has a chance to be respectable even while they're learning. But if Micah gets hurt, or if offenses figure out how